What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to iStuff Gaming, and today we're going to be doing a guide and first impressions on Tsukuyomi, the new assassin for Smite. Before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to keep up with any future content or watching me live on Twitch. I'll be leaving both those links in the description below. Now, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this character, but overall, I fucking love this character. This character is so much fun. He has insane amounts of damage, a lot of safety, an amazing ult, and a ridiculous passive that's really strong for him. But there are a few issues with this character, which I will get to later. But for now, I'm going to be teaching you his passives and abilities and his best items first. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, for Tsukuyomi's passive, it's known as Shingetsu and Mangetsu. Tsukuyomi wields Shingetsu in his left hand and Mangetsu in his right hand. When these weapons damage an enemy, they become empowered. Empowered Shingetsu gains a 50% cleave and restores mana. Empowered Mangetsu deals bonus damage and restores health. Let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. So, this doesn't have to be an enemy god. This could be an enemy minion. So let me go ahead and show you. So if you look at the bottom left hand corner, you can see those two symbols. When you basic, they'll actually start to glow. When they're both glowing, it will actually start to cleave. And you'll start getting mana back as well. This is really good for his clear for jungle camps or for the solo lane. And this really does help with his sustain, so he can be a threat in both lanes. Now we're going to go over his first ability. His first ability is known as the Dark Moon Shuriken. Tsukuyomi calls upon Shingetsu, summoning forth a Dark Moon Shuriken. The Shuriken damages enemies and stops on gods, sticking into them. If Tsukuyomi gets close to the god, he retrieves the Shuriken and reduces its cooldown. After casting this ability, Shingetsu's next basic attack becomes ranged. This attack steals movement speed from the enemy hit. Now that's really strong. And this move already has a ridiculous amount of range. Let me go ahead and show you. Look how far this could go, right? And if you remember, if you hit this, your next basic becomes a ranged move, so then you could throw this basic attack. And the basic attack will steal 25% movement speed from them. It's really strong. It goes extremely far as well. So he has a lot of safety, on top of the fact that if you hit this ability and then get close, it will reduce the cooldown by 4 seconds, and it's on a 10-second cooldown, no CDR. So essentially, this can be a 6-second cooldown move, and it does an insane amount of damage at 285 max rank. This is going to be your go-to for clear. Up next, we're going to be going over Kusarigama, his second ability. Shingetsu and Mangetsu form themselves into Kusarigama. Tsukuyomi swings the weapon to his left and right, damaging and disarming enemies hit. He then swings the weapon forward with more force, stunning enemies hit. While channeling, Tsukuyomi gains 33% increased movement speed and is immune to knockback effect. Now this ability gives me mixed feelings, because if you see, this has very, very limited range. So he has to be extremely close to hit this move. On top of the fact he has to wait to get his stun, so he can get CC'd out of it. Right? But he does get a healthy amount of movement speed for it, so you can use it to dodge around some abilities. So it has its uses, and it does do a hefty amount of damage. Let me go ahead and show you. And the stun lasts a pretty long time. At rank 1, it's a 1-second stun. At rank 5, it's a 1.4 second stun. And each swing does 135, with the final hit doing 290 at max rank. It's a lot. It can do a lot of damage. However, the fact that you can get CC out of it makes it not too amazing, but it has its uses. For Tsukuyomi's third ability, it's known as Silver Moon Caltrops. Tsukuyomi holds Mangetsu aloft as it erupts into starlight, sending stars falling to the ground. As they land, they become caltrops, damaging enemies in the area and slowing them for 2.5 seconds. Enemies who move inside this caltrop field take damage and are slowed again. After casting this ability, Mangetsu's next basic becomes ranged. This attack deals true damage. So, this is the little AoE you get, and then every single time you move inside of it, you take that damage. And the slow keeps reapplying itself. Right? That already has a lot of uses, on top of the fact that this next basic attack does true damage. It's kind of ridiculous, but it adds to his ranged gameplay. So knowing how to set this move down to get the most damage out of it is extremely essential. Finally, we have Tsukuyomi's ultimate, Piercing Moonlight. Tsukuyomi channels the power of the full moon, gaining crowd control, immunity, and 50% damage reduction. He fires forward 4 powerful Piercing Moonlight. Enemies hit, take damage, and become marked. Each beam can hit up to 3 gods. After firing all beams, Tsukuyomi charges forward at light speed, dashing through all enemies in the order they were hit, dealing heavy damage. Tsukuyomi will end his dashing at the final enemy hit. So, each beam will do 110 damage. So that's 330 if you hit all 3. And then, each dash will do 215. Now, you shoot 4, and each beam can hit up to 3 people. So that's 12 different times you could hit the enemy team. But, well, that will total out to what? Damn near 12 different times you can hit the dash, maxing out at like 2,400 damage in total. But you're not going to be hitting that one person every time. So if you hit all 3 beams on one person, it's 330 for the beam damage. And then about 645 damage for each total for the dashes. So let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. I'm going to try to hit every single person. This is an amazing kill confirm ult. It does such tremendous amounts of damage. And it can basically one-shot any squishy if you hit all the beams on one person. But honestly, you'll get more damage and more utility out of it if you hit multiple people with it at once. So keep that in mind. So, before we get into his best items, we're going to be going over his weaknesses. And honestly, he really only has 2. So, 1, he's really weak to CC. Extremely weak to CC. So, this does a tremendous amount of damage. Because each hit will do 135, which is 270 damage, on top of the 290 into a stun. Honestly, it's a good thing they made this ability not 100% CC immune, because this move would be broken if it was. However, if he's stunned out of this, he is losing a lot of damage. And which brings me to our next point, he has no run move, which is another issue this character has. So yes, he has this slow. Yes, he has this movement speed steal. But outside of that, he is a sitting duck. To me, this is a very, very all-in type of character. He's not trying to get away from you, he's trying to kill you. Right? He's not trying to go in like, oh, if this doesn't work, then I have a way out. No, he's going in with the mindset of like, if I die, it's either I die or you're gonna die. That's his character's mindset. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and get onto his best items. So, for Tsukuyomi's best items, there's quite a few. If you're looking to upgrade your caltrops and have them do absurd amounts of damage, Crusher is definitely the way to go. Because every single time they move and they take that damage, they're going to be taking Crusher procs. So that's a lot. You got Heartseeker, which will make the caltrops and all your abilities hit extremely hard. You have a Sledge, which is really good on him. You're going to be wanting to run some tanky items on him because he's so weak to CC, so he doesn't instantly die every time he goes in. With that being said, Void Shield is really good on him. Runic Shield and Onsile are really good on him. Mostly Onsile, to be honest, because that silence he gets can help him in the long run. Friedman is really good on him because once he gets out of his ult, he'll get that gigantic health shield. And the Bloodforge is always really good because since he does so much damage, you're guaranteed to get some kills in a game. Soul Eater is really good on him. The pen, the power, cooldowns, especially in the solo lane setting, this is a really strong item, even with the recent nerfs. And then finally, I would recommend building a Eye of the Urchin or one of these just for the CC immunity, because as we discussed earlier, this character is really deep. Now, in Tsukuyomi's game plan, there's a lot to be considered. He does have a lot of poke with this first ability with the basics and the third ability with the basics. He has good team setup with the disarm and the stun, and he has a good kill confirming ult. But for the most part, you're probably going to want to know how to deal with somebody in a 1v1 situation. One, you need to have these out. Right? You need to have those out. Next, after that, you can hit them with the stun. Then basic for a while. Then hit them with this one. And then hit them with the basic attack immediately after so you can get your chase going. And then if you miss, you still have your ult to kill confirm off of. Let me go ahead and show you what this all would look like in a real situation. And afterwards, go to this one. Confirm off of it. And repeat. The biggest thing about this character is that you want to have good setups with your Caltrops. You want to put them in a spot where you know people are going to walk over them. Because if you put them in a bad spot, you're never going to be able to get the max damage with this character. So for leveling path and item upgrades, there's a few things to be considered. But for me, getting his first ability is a must. It does absurd amounts of damage. You get the long range basic afterwards, and you get the movement speed with the cooldown reduction if you hit an enemy god. This ability is way too strong. Now for me, I play him in the solo lane, however, there is a universal start with him, and that's starting Soul Eater, just for the survivability and the pen. And then for the type of boot you want, I like running Warrior Tabi for the extra damage, but getting Ninja Tabi can help him with this clear. Now, while you're leveling, up next you would be getting... up next, it depends on you. Like I said, I play him in the solo lane, so I get my third ability next, so I can hit the back minions if I don't feel comfortable hitting the wave with my first ability. Right? And then I'll get my second ability, the stun. Now, while you're leveling, I would recommend leveling up the 1 first. This really is your go-to clear. And with the cooldown reduction on it, when you get close to somebody, having this ability up every 6 seconds with all of that damage is extremely crucial. So this will actually give you max damage early when you're leveling this ability. Now, this character is not one of those characters where you would level up your ultimate once and then level it later on. You definitely want to start leveling your ultimate ability as soon as possible. And then, on top of that, depending on what you're really going for, with the slow or with the stun or with the damage, if you want the damage, upgrade your second ability. If you want more of the setup and the tick damage, you're going to want to level your third ability. But all in all, you're going to be leveling up your first ability more often than not. All in all, I think this character is absolutely amazing. But he does have the weaknesses of not having sustain and not having a good run move. But he does have a lot of setup and a lot of range, so that plays really well for him. I think this character is going to see some nerfs. The tick damage on the Caltrops does add up, and it does a significant amount of damage. And the damage off of what you can get off your first ability alone is... it's kind of nutty. So, I think this character is going to see some nerfs. I do think this character... well, I think the character could break the tier list as far as the game goes. However, Bakasura, Arachne, Ratatoskr, they're still running around, so I'm not entirely sure. However, I definitely think this character is top 10, if not top 5. But if you have any other questions, if you have any other questions, concerns, or you would like to debate with me about this character at all, go ahead and leave a comment, a like, and subscribe. If you'd like to keep up with any future content, don't forget I'll be leaving my Twitch and my Discord in the link in the description below. Without further ado, I'll catch y'all later.